She slipped and fell, a plunge into the pouring rain below. The thud, a sound, Bollywood Underworld. Specifically the notorious D Company, Dawood Company. She made the monumental decision to marry him in a private nikah. Rushed her to Cooper Hospital, where she was pronounced dead. The official cause of her death was deemed to be head injuries and an internal bleeding. Imagine being one of the newest, brightest, shining stars in Bollywood. And then the next day, your death being the biggest mystery of the nation. This story is just about that. Welcome to Welted Marigold, where we share dark and mysterious stories from South Asia and beyond. I'm your storyteller, Ambika, and today's story is about Divya Bharti. The rain came down, pitter-patter, a soft, insistent drumming against the windows of Tulsi building in Mumbai's Versova neighborhood. It was a typical Bombay evening, heavy with the scent of wet earth and salt from the Arabian Sea. A city in a breathless, humid embrace. But in apartment 504, a different kind of storm was brewing. On April 5th, 1993, a star fell from the sky. No, not a cosmic one, but one of flesh and bone. Her name was Divya Bharti, and she was only 19 years old. The city was her stage, and she was its brightest, most effervescent new talent. A meteor, they called her, burning with a furious brilliance, although fleeting as fate would later have it. She had captured the collective imagination of a nation with her wide, trusting eyes, and a smile that promised endless sunshine. Yet, on this night, that smile was gone. The fifth-floor balcony, a place meant for sipping chai with adrak and cardamom, and watching the city lights flicker to life, became a precipice. A scream, a thud that echoed in the hearts of millions, and then a silence. The street below was filled with horror, with crimson petals scattered on the rain-slick pavement. But these petals were of no flower. This was a life. The mystery of her fall became a narrative that has haunted Bollywood for 3 decades. A story with no clear ending, only a trail of theories and unsaid truths. Was it a tragic accident? Or a desperate suicide? Or something far more sinister, a murder veiled in the cloak of fame and fortune? We begin our descent into the darkness of that Bombay night, seeking to understand the star who fell from the sky. Divya's story began not in the glaring lights of a film set, but in the unassuming suburban lanes of Bombay, in a family that was both ordinary and extraordinary. Born on February 25, 1974, to Om Prakash and Meeta Bharti, she was a child of paradoxes. She was a tomboy with a streak of wild abandon, yet she possessed a delicate, almost ethereal beauty. As a little girl, she moved through her world with an untamed energy, her laugh echoing in the halls of her school, a carefree spirit unbound by the conventions that would later define her life. Her mother, Meeta, a gentle and nurturing soul, often worried about her daughter's rebellious streak, a fire that simmered just beneath the surface. Her father was the one who saw the potential for a different kind of life for Divya. In the 90s, the Indian middle-class narrative was very clear. Study hard, secure a government job or an engineering degree, perhaps a medical degree, and settle down. The arts, while revered, were often seen as a risk, a gamble with an uncertain payout, or just as a hobby. Art wasn't pursued to pay the bills. It was a sidekick to the main character, called the sciences. But Om Prakash Bharti, a man who understood the language of the silver screen, believed his daughter was born to speak it. He saw the fire in her eyes, the dismissal of her school books in favor of daydreaming, Divya was not an academic. She was a performer. She had that certain it factor, a term a Bollywood fan might use to describe a star's unteachable charisma. She found her calling not in textbooks, but in front of the camera. At just 14, while in the ninth grade at Manikji Cooper School in Juhu, Mumbai, her life took a sharp, unexpected turn. She was discovered while walking on a street, her face shining with raw, innocent emotion. Film director Kirti Kumar, brother of actor Govinda of the "मैं तो रास्ते से जा रहा था" fame, had spotted her and believed he had found his next star. Her parents initially refused, fearing for her young age, but after repeated persuasion and with the help of Govinda, they finally agreed. Divya was happy about the opportunity, mostly because it meant she would not have to study. Her debut in the Telugu film industry at 16 was a revelation. Bobbili Raja was a blockbuster. She was an immediate sensation. She moved with an innate grace. Her face was a canvas of raw, uninhibited emotion. She was a natural who didn't act. She lived the roles that she enacted. The industry embraced her with a hunger reserved for true prodigies, the way it had embraced others like Sri Devi and Madhuri Dixit. Her rapid ascent was not just a testament to her talent, but to a certain naivety, a willingness to be molded, which was both her greatest strength and perhaps her fatal weakness. She was a child navigating a sea of sharks, her pure heart and trusting nature a dangerous beacon in a world of artifice and ambition. The transition to Hindi cinema was like a tidal wave in the Arabian Sea, swift and overwhelming. In 1992, she signed over 14 films, an unprecedented number for a newcomer. With films like Vishwatma and Divana, she became an icon. The song Saat Samundar Paar Mein Tere wasn't just a hit. It became a cultural phenomenon, a jubilant anthem of her arrival. Her dance moves were imitated at every wedding and college festival and club across India, a testament to her widespread appeal. Her face was plastered on every street corner, her image staring out from magazines with an almost unsettling vibrancy. She worked with almost all the big stars of her time. You name them and she had worked with them, including the likes of Shah Rukh Khan, Akshay Kumar and Salman Khan, solidifying her as the top female star in an incredibly short span. By the time she was 19, she was a brand, a household name, earning an astonishing 25 lakh rupees per film, a huge sum in those days. She had a punishing schedule though, that often involved 12 to 14 hours shoot on shoot days. The world she was living was woven with threads of adulation, but also of suffocating expectations. She was a captive of her own fame, a prisoner of a life that left little room for breath. Before we move ahead with the story, if you like our content, please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, as it means the world to us. Your support will help our growth. We are a very small team trying our very best to get you these stories that are dark and mysterious from South Asia. Also, we are on all major podcasting platforms. Just search for Welted Marigold and hit that subscribe button. Now over to the story. But what was it like to be Divya Bharti in 1993? The public saw the dazzling smile, the effortless charm. What they didn't see was the exhaustion, the quiet turmoil. Her close friend, actress Guddi Maruti, would later speak of a messed up side to Divya, a sadness that belied her entire public persona. The girl who used to be carefree, who was a daydreamer, now dreamed of a different, quiet life, of settling down, of a quiet domesticity that seemed a world away from the life that she was living. Ghar basana, a common phrase used in the subcontinent for building a home, was a deep-seated desire, a silent counterpoint to her public image as a fierce, independent superstar. Beneath the surface of a star's life, there are always many layers. And for Divya, those layers began to cluster with her secret marriage to film producer Sajid Nadiadwala. Their love story was a whirlwind, a furtive affair born on the sets of Shola or Shabnam. On May 10, 1992, at just 18, she made the monumental decision to marry him in a private nikah, an Islamic marriage ceremony. She was a Hindu converting to Islam. She, a Hindu, converted to Islam and took the name Sana Nadiadwala. This act, while deeply personal, was kept a secret from the public and most painfully from her own father, who had opposed the very idea. The secret life was a heavy burden, a duality that forced her to live a lie. Her public image was that of a youthful, unattached sensation, while her private reality was that of a young wife. Imagine the situation almost like a tight rope that she was walking over a khai, a ditch at her height. A constant low-grade hum of anxiety that was almost imperceptible to the outsiders, but one that she was living with. The fear was simple and brutal. In an industry where desirability was a currency, marriage could be a death sentence for a career. For months, she continued living with her parents, only meeting Sajid in the evening. The truth was finally revealed during the Diwali festival, when Sajid visited their home and confessed everything to her father. The initial anger and shock eventually gave way to acceptance, but the quiet tension of that deception lingered on, like a ghost in their home. The world of a film star is not always only about the glitz. It is also about the dark, because it's only in darkness that a star can shine. About the unspoken corners of the human psyche. Divya, for all her public cheer, had a peculiar, almost self-destructive streak. According to her close friends, she was a daredevil, a young woman who loved doing these stunts and found a strange kick in cheating death. There were numerous stories of her trying dangerous stunts. At outdoor shoots, her casual disregard for safety, a stark contrast to her professional image. This detail is not just a passing observation. It is a crucial key to understanding the final moments of her life. She was a fire that burned too hot, a soul that found solace in the raw, immediate rush of a flirtation with the void. The evening of April 5th, 1993 began with an uneasy calm. Divya had returned to her Mumbai home from a film shoot in Chennai and was in high spirits, celebrating a major life milestone. She had just finalized the purchase of a new 4-bedroom flat for her parents, a symbol of her success and her desire to finally give them the life they truly deserved. It was a moment of hope, a fragile promise of a future that sadly would never come. She was joined by her friend and designer, Neeta Lulla, and Neeta's husband, Dr. Shyam Lulla, at her 5th floor apartment in Tulsi building. The mood was one of celebration. The conversation flowed, punctuated by laughter and the clinking of glasses. Divya, according to Neeta's later testimony, seemed a little tipsy, her voice a bit louder than usual. The television was on in the background like a silent observer to the sad events unfolding. The apartment itself held a secret, a peculiar vulnerability. The living room's 12-foot wide window had no protective grille, only a narrow concrete ledge. It was the only window in the building without a grille, a chilling detail that would later haunt investigators. It was her private sanctuary, a place to think, to breathe freely, feel the city's pulse beneath her. It was also, as Neeta Lulla would later describe, a place where she would often lean out to check for her husband's car. Around 11 p.m., the evening's casual atmosphere shifted. According to the Lullas, Divya moved toward the living room window. Guddi Maruti, recounting Neeta's testimony, paints a harrowing scene. Neeta was sitting on a sofa and Divya, with her back to her, leaned out and said, "Sajid ki gadi aayi kya?" meaning, has Sajid's car come? She then, in one fluid, terrifying movement, turned to sit on the ledge. The narrative is as simple as that. A slight miscalculation on Divya's part, a fatal loss of balance. She slipped and fell, a plunge into the pouring rain below. Rushed her to Cooper Hospital, where she was pronounced dead. The official cause of her death was deemed to be head injuries and an internal bleeding, a conclusion that offered no comfort and left a gaping wound in the hearts of millions. The public and even the police found the official narrative unsatisfying. A star at the peak of her career dies in a freak accident? It lacked the dramatic flair that the public demanded. The rumor mill, that ubiquitous engine of South Asian society, began to churn with a furious energy. Was it suicide, a desperate act by a young woman overwhelmed by her personal and professional struggles? Or was it murder? A dark conspiracy involving her husband, the Underworld, and the very industry that once worshipped her. The presence of the Lullas was a key detail, but the absence of Sajid Nadiadwala from the apartment that night fueled the most potent theories. The most widespread rumor, a whisper that traveled from the glitzy parties of Mumbai to the nukkad ki chai, corner tea stalls as called in India, of every small town, was that Divya had discovered her husband's ties to the Bollywood underworld, specifically the notorious D Company, Dawood Company. This was a world of illicit film financing and dangerous men, a world that was a stark contrast to her vibrant, innocent public persona. The theory suggested that she needed to be silenced, and the fall was no mere accident. The bizarre death of her maid, Amrita Kumari, a month later, only added fuel to the fire. Amrita, who had been with Divya since birth and was deeply attached to her, went into a deep depression after the incident. She died from what was officially ruled a heart attack, but for the conspiracy theorists, it was a convenient end to a potential witness. A person who could have revealed the truth was now gone forever. The police, led by Inspector J.G. Jadhav, conducted a meticulous 5-year investigation. They interrogated Divya's family, her husband, the Lullas. They examined the scene, noted the lack of a protective grille, and considered all angles. The statements of Neeta Lulla and her husband were never made public, a detail that further fueled public speculation. Despite the public suspicion and the swirling rumors, the police's final conclusion was unwavering. It was an accidental fall. They closed the case in 1998, leaving a final unshakable verdict. The legal system, in its slow, methodical way, echoed the official verdict, but the public remained unconvinced. Divya's mother, Meeta Bharti, filed an insurance claim that was denied, with the insurance company citing intentional injury, suicide bid under influence of liquor or drugs. This legal outcome, while a factual part of the story, did little to quell the public's desire for a more dramatic, conclusive truth. The denial of the claim seemed to some to legitimize the rumors of suicide or a deliberate act, even if the police had ruled it an accident. Divya's father's public support for Sajid, who stayed by the family's side for years, further complicated the public's understanding. The death of Divya Bharti left a void in the cinematic universe. Her final films, Rang and Shatranj, were released posthumously, their success a bittersweet tribute to a talent cut short. The industry moved on, but her ghost, a beautiful and tragic figure, continues to haunt its corridors. The unanswered questions linger like the scent of Indian flowers, champa, chameli, or genda, the marigold. The silence of her family on certain aspects, the bizarre death of her maid, the closed investigation, all of these elements created a mystery that has outlived the official verdict. The story of Divya Bharti is not just a true crime case. It is a cultural artifact, a cautionary story about the brutal cost of fame. in the subcontinent. It speaks to a deep-seated fascination with the private lives of public figures, a narrative steeped in celebrityhood, family honor, and the powerful pull of conspiracy theories. She was a fleeting dream, a promise of something spectacular, and her abrupt end left a nation heartbroken and forever searching for an answer. We may never know what truly happened on that rain-swept night. The truth, like dust motes dancing in a single shaft of light, remains elusive and out of reach. But her legacy is not in her death, but in the blinding and beautiful flash of her life. She was a star, even if she fell. Her light will always shine in the collective memory of a nation that loved her. At Welted Marigold, the stories we tell are not always about the heroes and villains, but about the delicate wires that connect us and the layers that lie just beneath the surface of most beautiful lives. Thank you, and if you liked this episode, please don't forget to share it with your friends and family. Click that like button and do subscribe. Until the next episode, stay kind, stay safe.